I'd rather die than marry him, my girlfriend laughed when her friend jokingly asked when I'd propose. I smiled and left. An hour later, she called begging me to come back. Sup Reddit, I, 33 male, and my girlfriend Amber, 29 female, were together for 2 years. We met because her Audi decided to self-destruct on the shoulder of the highway. Late shift at the airport. Saw a white Audi sitting dead on the roadside. A woman staring at her phone like it personally betrayed her. Serpentine belt had shredded itself into confetti. I had a spare in my truck because I'm that guy. I fix aircraft for a living. Lead mechanic at a regional airport. Spend my days troubleshooting hydraulic systems and tracking down electrical gremlins so planes don't fall out of the sky. The work requires precision and zero tolerance for nonsense. You can't sweet-talk a turbine engine. Either it works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you find out why and fix it. 15 minutes later, she was back on the road. She took me to dinner to thank me properly. Said I was refreshingly real compared to guys she usually dated. Should have asked what those guys were like. 6 weeks in, she needed help moving. 3 months in, her car needed a repair she couldn't afford. 6 months in, she lost her job and needed help with rent. Fast forward 2 years, and we're doing our usual routine. Her friends, a loud lounge, and me playing the role of supportive boyfriend. That Thursday night, Amber was mid-story about some client questioning her real estate commission. Her hands were flying, her laugh cutting through the music at the Gilded Fox. Edison bulbs everywhere and fancy mocktails that cost more than my lunch. She had the audacity to ask for a fee breakdown, Amber said, rolling her eyes. As if the market data wasn't self-explanatory. Her friends Chelsea and Rachel nodded like she'd just solved world hunger. Amber's hand found my arm, nails digging in slightly. My cue. Nate gets it, right, babe? Sounds frustrating, I said. She beamed. I'd said the right thing, but I'd heard this exact story twice already. Once over takeout, once while cleaning her dishes. I'd even suggested she make a one-page value summary for clients. She waved it off like I'd suggested she learn interpretive dance. This was our routine. When she got fired a year and a half ago, I covered her rent for 6 months. Picked up her car payment twice. Cooked every meal. Drove her to interviews. When she finally landed at the new agency, we celebrated at this exact lounge. She raised her pink mocktail like we'd won something together. I'd also paid off her credit card once. $2,200 she'd racked up on clothes for networking events that never seemed to happen. She promised to pay me back. Never did. Never mentioned it again. I stopped mentioning it too. Earlier that week, she'd been scrolling her phone at my place. Some video of a couple in matching pajamas making breakfast. She'd snorted. God, imagine being that basic. Just existing in the same boring bubble forever. I'd been standing right there. Scrambling eggs in my apartment. She didn't even look up. My phone buzzed. Text from Jack asking if I wanted to help swap his truck transmission this weekend. Real work. Actual problems you can solve with your hands. Yeah, I'm in, I typed back. Ooh, who's that? Amber snatched for my phone. I moved it away. Just Jack, making plans. Ugh, you and that greasy garage stuff. She smiled, though. Part of our routine. Chelsea, her friend, on her third overpriced mocktail, leaned forward with that dangerous glint people get when they're about to say something stupid. You know, you two are like, solid. It's actually kind of gross how cute you are. She giggled. Like, when's it gonna happen? When's this guy finally gonna put a ring on it? The question hung there like a grenade with the pin pulled. Rachel stopped smiling. Chelsea suddenly found her drink absolutely fascinating. Amber's arm around mine went rigid. 7 months ago, driving back from her parents' place, she'd grabbed my hand and said, I can really see us doing this forever, you know? I'd squeezed back. Meant it when I said, me too. Now I watched her face, waiting for whatever came next. The blush. The squeeze of my arm that meant, maybe soon. Instead, Amber let out a laugh. Sharp. Cold. The kind of laugh that tells you exactly who someone really is. She pulled her arm away and reached for her drink. Took a long sip. Eyes on the glass. Not on me. God, she said. I hope never. The music seemed to disappear completely. Amber set her glass down and leaned forward, voice dropping like she was sharing the juiciest gossip of her life. He's safe. A total sweetheart. But marry him? She puffed air through her lips. Pure contempt. I'd rather die than be trapped in that boring little life. I saw my apartment in my head, the one where she kept a drawer of clothes. The bathroom shelf lined with her products. The closet corner filled with her shoes. All the ways she'd spread into my space while treating me like background noise. Amber, Rachel hissed. Too late. But Amber was on a roll now. She looked at me, not with guilt, with this smug amusement, like I was in on the joke. I mean, think about it. The nice little house, the nice little yard, watching him tinker with greasy airplane parts every weekend. She shuddered dramatically. I'd suffocate. Literally suffocate. Everything got real clear real fast. I could see every moment playing back. Her crying in my kitchen after the firing, saying, "What would I do without you?" Her raising a glass here, tears in her eyes, saying, "To my rock." Her whispering, "You're my forever," on my couch. All of it rehearsed. Every single time. You don't diagnose a running engine. You power down, step back, and work the problem. Chelsea looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. Rachel studied the tabletop like it held the secrets of the universe. Amber's smirk wavered just slightly. My heart rate didn't even budge. Just a mechanic who finally found the bad part. I smiled. Not bitter, not angry. The smile of someone who just figured out exactly what he was looking at. Picked up my ginger ale. Drained it. Placed the empty glass on the table with a soft clink. I stood. Pulled out my wallet. Laid down $40. Conversation over. "Nate," her voice squeaked. "Where are you going?" "Don't be so sensitive. It was a joke." Didn't land. None of it did. I walked past the bar. Past the laughing groups. Past the hostess. Cool night air hit my face. Smelled like rain and city exhaust and something entirely new. Behind me, faintly. "Oh my God, is he seriously walking out?" "Nate! Nate!" Gone. Didn't hear any of it. I didn't run. Walked to my truck. Calm. Steady. By the time I got home, I already knew exactly what needed to happen next. The apartment was quiet. Her heels by my door. Lipstick-stained mug by my sink. I walked past all of it. Straight to the second bedroom I used as an office. My space. I sat down. Opened my laptop. Some guys would have stuck around to argue. To get closure. To hear her explain it away. Not me. You don't fix things while they're still spinning. You power down and work the problem step by step. Phase 1. Immediate segregation. Tonight. Change passwords on all financial accounts. Forward personal email to new private account. Identify every item of hers in my apartment. Phase 2. Physical extraction. Tomorrow. Gather every single item she'd left at my place over 2 years. Lay it all out. Photograph everything. Box it up. Create itemized list on my phone. Contact her friend for drop-off location. Phase 3. Communication blackout. Text Amber once with drop-off confirmation. Block Amber on phone, messaging, social media. Set email filters to auto-archive anything from her. Block any friends who try to act as messengers. Phase 4. Financial disentanglement. Cancel shared streaming services. Remove my card from delivery apps. She keeps nothing that's mine. I keep my dignity. Worked for 2 hours straight. Every phase had backup plans. Every step had a timeline. I set calendar reminders for each item. I pulled up my bank statements while I worked. Ran the numbers one more time. In 2 years, I'd transferred over 19 grand to keep her life running while she played at careers and complained about clients. Never once got a thank you that felt real. Never once got offered to split something 50-50. Started walking through my apartment with a garbage bag. Collected every item that belonged to her. The drawer of clothes. The bathroom products. The shoes. The chargers. The makeup bag. The jacket hanging by the door. The hair ties scattered on my nightstand. 2 years of her spreading into my space like she owned it. Laid it all out on my living room floor. Took photos of everything. Itemized it on my phone. Charger. Makeup bag. 3 pairs of shoes. Clothes. Toiletries. Jacket. Jewelry she'd left behind. Every single thing documented. Sealed it all in 3 boxes. Wrote nothing on them. Just taped them shut. My phone, face down on the desk, started buzzing. Then again, and again. I imagined her at Chelsea's place. Screen lighting up with her name. Then Chelsea's number. Then Rachel's. Then hers again. I didn't flip it over. Around 1 a.m., it rang with an unknown number. Something made me answer. Not to hear her out. To officially close this chapter. "Nate, what the heck?" Her voice was sharp with anger, edges cracking. "You just left me there. You embarrassed me in front of everyone." She'd expected a fight. Expected me to come home wounded. To beg for an explanation. My silence threw her off completely. "Just saving you from a fate worse than death." Ended the call. Powered the phone off completely. The quiet that followed was total. Best sleep I'd had in months. Woke at 5 the next morning, refreshed instead of drained. Saturday morning. The boxes were stacked by my door. 3 of them. Every trace of Amber ready to go. Texted Chelsea from my phone. Kept it simple. I'm dropping Amber's boxed items at your place at 2 p.m. Reply yes if that works. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Yes, I'll be here. Perfect. Loaded the boxes in my truck at 1:45. Drove to Chelsea's apartment complex. Parked. Carried the boxes to her door one by one. Stacked them neatly. Took a photo. Time-stamped. 3 boxes on Chelsea's doorstep at 1:58 p.m. Got back in my truck. Sent one text to Amber. Your items were dropped at Chelsea's place at 2 p.m. Photo attached. Attached the photo. Hit send. Then I blocked her number. Blocked Chelsea. Blocked Rachel. Blocked every number that had contacted me in the last 48 hours on her behalf. The texting had already started that morning, before the drop-off. Phase 1. Righteous anger. You're overreacting. It was a joke. My friends think you're being a manipulative jerk. I can't believe you're doing this after everything I've given up for you. You're really just going to ghost me? What are you, 12? Phase 2. Guilt and gaslighting. From Chelsea's number. Nate, it's Chelsea. Look, Amber's really upset. She didn't mean it like that. You know how she gets. She loves you. Can you please just call her? Phase 3. Fake concern. From Amber again. I'm worried about you. This isn't like you. Please talk to me. We can fix this. Screenshotted all of them before the block. Filed them in a folder marked documentation. The 3 boxes sitting on Chelsea's porch were the last physical connection between me and Amber. But things got messy. Wednesday morning, I got to work at 6 a.m., was elbow deep in a Cessna 172's engine when my supervisor found me. Nate, got a visitor at the main office. Says she's your girlfriend. My hands stopped moving. Ex-girlfriend. Tell her I'm unavailable. He raised an eyebrow but didn't push. 10 minutes later, he was back. She's not leaving. Making a scene at reception. Want me to call security? I wiped my hands on a rag. Some people don't understand boundaries until you draw them with a permanent marker. Walked to the main office. Amber was there. Mascara slightly smeared. Wearing an outfit carefully chosen to look disheveled, but still attractive. The receptionist looked deeply uncomfortable. The moment Amber saw me, her face transformed into wounded relief. Nate! Oh, thank God! I've been so worried. You won't answer my calls? You boxed up my stuff like I'm nothing? I held up a hand. Voice steady. Professional. This is my workplace. You don't come to my workplace. Her expression flickered. Confusion. Then defiance. I had to. You left me no choice. You won't talk to me. Because there's nothing to talk about. We're done. This is harassment. The word hit her like a slap. Eyes wide. Harassment? Nate, I'm your girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend. And you need to leave. Now. Or I'll have security escort you out. A tear rolled down her cheek. Right on cue. Oscar-worthy. How can you be so cold? After 2 years, I made one stupid comment, and you're treating me like a criminal. I looked at her for a long moment. The comment wasn't the problem. The problem was every day of the last 2 years when you treated me like furniture that paid bills. Now please leave, or I call security. Those are your options. Her face shifted, the hurt victim act cracking, something uglier showing through. You're going to regret this, she said, voice low. I gave you 2 years of my life. You don't just get to walk away. I smiled, not warm. Watch me. Turned my back, walked toward the hangar. Heard her heels clicking away. Heard the front door slam. The receptionist caught my eye as I passed. Her expression said she'd seen workplace drama, but this was something else entirely. For what it's worth, she said quietly, that was handled perfectly. I nodded. Thanks. Later that week, 2 other guys from the maintenance crew mentioned they'd heard about the lobby incident. Neither of them said much. Just a nod. A respect man from one of them. A silent thumbs up from another. In a workplace full of guys who fix things for a living, there was an unspoken appreciation for someone who knew when something couldn't be fixed. The next few weeks went exactly how you'd expect. She tried my sister Meg's number. Meg, who'd never liked Amber, told her exactly where to go and blocked her. She tried Jack. Jack laughed and said, "He told me what you said. You're lucky all he did was leave." She showed up at my apartment one evening. I saw her car pull up, watched her walk to my door. She knocked, knocked again, called my name. I went back to my meal, turned up the TV. 30 minutes later, she finally left, but not before slipping a handwritten letter under my door. 4 pages of made-up history. How she'd been under stress. How she hadn't meant it. How I was abandoning her when she needed me most. I read it once, photographed it for documentation, threw it away. She called the main line at work pretending to be family. She sent flowers with a card that said, "I'm sorry, please come home." She even tried to get one of her real estate clients to accidentally run into me. That last one actually made me laugh out loud. 2 weeks after I ended things, something shifted. News travels in circles, especially when it's juicy. Jack heard from his wife, who heard from a coworker, who was friends with someone at Amber's brokerage. The story had gotten around. Not my version. I hadn't told anyone except Jack and Meg the full details. Her version. The one where I was an emotionally stunted man-child who couldn't take a joke. But something funny happened. One of her friends posted about what actually happened and exposed her as a liar, which was hilarious to me. That friend had always hated her from what I could tell. Amber's carefully built story fell apart spectacularly. At the same time, her work went downhill. Always distracted, showing up late, losing clients because she wasn't following up, blaming everyone else. I didn't feel satisfied when I heard this. It was like getting a weather report for a city I used to live in. Noted. Doesn't matter anymore. What I did feel was how good it was to have a life that was finally mine. Rejoined the motorcycle club I'd been part of before Amber. Spent Saturdays riding coastal highways with 15 other riders. Engine noise and ocean air replacing the constant background hum of relationship maintenance. First ride back, one of the guys pulled up next to me at a gas stop. He'd been in the club for years. "Heard you ditched the anchor," he said, topping off his tank. "News travels." "Good for you. You were different when you were with her. Quieter, smaller. Nice to have the real Nate back." Didn't know what to say to that. Just nodded. Reconnected with Jack. Spent weekends helping him with projects. Both of us measuring twice, cutting once, actually building things that mattered. My sister Meg started coming by my place more often. We'd order takeout and watch terrible action movies like we used to before Amber. "You seem lighter," Meg said one night. "Like someone took a boot off your neck." She wasn't wrong. About 125 pounds of dead weight, give or take. At work, I accepted a lead position I'd previously turned down. The role required more responsibility, occasional weekend callouts. Stuff I'd avoided before because weekends were our time, and I needed to be available for whatever crisis Amber made up next. My supervisor was surprised and pleased. "I always knew you had more in the tank. Just had some personal stuff weighing me down. Cleared that out." He snorted. "Yeah, I met the stuff when she showed up here crying. Can't imagine why you'd want to get clear of that." 2 months later, the airport safety audit came back with our maintenance department scoring in the top 5% regionally. My supervisor made sure the bosses knew who'd been running point, got a commendation letter in my file, and a bonus that went straight into my house down payment fund. I wasn't stepping up. I was just finally able to operate at full speed. Then, about 6 weeks after the bar incident, I got an email from an unexpected source, an admin at Amber's brokerage. Quiet woman who'd always been polite to me at company events. Subject line, "Thought you should know. Nate, I hope this isn't overstepping. I got your email from an old contact list. I wanted you to know that people here have figured out what really happened. The joke story Amber was telling didn't hold up once someone who was actually at that bar started sharing details. She's been struggling since you left. Performance issues. Drama with coworkers. The partners put her on a PIP last week, and she blamed you publicly in the break room. Said you sabotaged her by leaving during a critical time in her career. Major incident yesterday. She missed a closing because she was trying to track you down. Client complained directly to the partners. They terminated her this morning. I'm not writing this to make you feel bad or good. I'm writing because you were always decent to me, and I believe in people knowing the truth. What she did was cruel. What's happening to her now is just the result of her own choices. I hope you're doing well." I read it twice. Didn't feel much of anything. Just like getting news about somewhere I used to be. The main thing I felt was appreciation for her being a decent person. Wrote back a simple reply, "Thanks for telling me. I'm doing well. Hope you are too. Best, Nate." What I didn't know was that Amber's downward spiral was just getting started. The desperate attempts came in waves. Attempt 1. The nostalgia play. Text from a new number. A photo of us from a friend's wedding the previous year. Both of us cleaned up. Her in a red dress, me in a suit I'd bought for the occasion. Caption. "Remember this? I've never been that happy since. I miss what we had." Deleted without response. Attempt 2. The mutual friend. She got to a guy named Dave who I sometimes grabbed coffee with. Dave sent a text that was obviously coached. "Hey man, ran into Amber. She seemed really torn up. I know it's not my business, but maybe you guys should at least talk? Seems like there's stuff unsaid." I liked Dave. Decent guy being used as a messenger. "Dave, I appreciate you reaching out, but she said she'd rather die than marry me. In public. To my face. There's nothing unsaid. Please don't let her use you to get to me." Dave's response came 30 seconds later. Holy cow, I didn't know that. Disregard, sorry man. Attempt 3. The financial angle. A letter arrived at my apartment. Official looking. From an attorney I'd never heard of. My heart rate spiked for about 3 seconds until I actually read it. A demand letter claiming I owed Amber $6,500 for shared household expenses. I laughed out loud. Took pictures of every receipt I'd saved. Every rent check I'd written from my account for her place. Every credit card statement showing utilities, groceries, and her car payment I'd covered during her unemployment. Put together a timeline showing I'd contributed roughly $19,000 more than she had over 2 years. Had a buddy who did paralegal work review it. He wrote a response letter politely suggesting that if this matter proceeded, I would be happy to provide documentation showing who actually owed whom money, and that Ms. Amber should perhaps reconsider her position before racking up legal fees she couldn't afford. The response letter also included an itemized summary. 6 months of rent at $1,400 a month, 2 car payments at $380 each, $2,200 in credit card debt, groceries, utilities, gas money, all documented, all one way. Never heard from that attorney again. 3 months after I ended things, late night. I was working on a detailed schematic for a vintage motorcycle I was planning to restore. Quiet evening. Content. Phone rang. Unknown number. Something about the late hour made me answer. It was her, and she was falling apart. Not the fake distress I'd dealt with 100 times before. This was different. Someone who'd finally run out of acts to put on. Nate, please. Her voice was wrecked, hiccuping between words. I'm being evicted. They posted the notice on my door. I lost my job. Chelsea and Rachel won't take my calls anymore. I have no one. I listened. Said nothing. Looked at my schematic. I made a terrible mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. She was gasping. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I was scared and stupid. I was trying to look cool for them. And I destroyed everything. Nothing from my end. Nate, are you there? Please say something. I'll do anything. I'll change. You're my person. I set my pencil down. Voice calm, clear, and completely empty of emotion. You should call 211. They have housing assistance resources. People who can actually help with eviction situations. Stunned silence. Then a wounded sound. What? I don't need housing resources. I need you. I'm not a resource, Amber. I'm a person you publicly humiliated. Good luck. Ended the call. Attempt 5. The break-in. That wasn't. This one deserves its own section because it was genuinely insane. About a week after the crisis call, I came home late from a shift. 11 p.m., tired. Just wanted to eat something and crash. Walked into my kitchen, flipped on the light, grabbed a glass from the cabinet, filled it with water from the tap, took a long drink, set the glass down. That's when I heard breathing. Not from outside. From inside. From my pantry. I stood there for a second, glass in hand, brain trying to catch up. The pantry door was slightly open. I always kept it closed. Walked over, pulled it open, and there was Amber, crouched between my cereal boxes and a bag of rice, looking up at me like a raccoon caught in a garage. We just stared at each other. Hey, she said, like this was normal, like people just hung out in other people's pantries at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. Amber, what are you doing in my pantry? It wasn't even a question, more like me just saying what I was seeing. She started scrambling out, knocking over a box of pasta in the process. Her hair was a mess. She was wearing an oversized hoodie and what looked like pajama pants. One sock was inside out. I just wanted to talk. You wouldn't answer the door last time, so I thought maybe if I was already inside when you got home. You broke into my apartment. The window was unlocked. That's not breaking in. That's just entering. The kitchen window latch had been loose since maintenance half fixed it in March. She'd watched me mess with it for months. How long have you been in there? She glanced away. A while. Define a while. 4 hours. 4 hours. She'd been crouched in my pantry for 4 hours. Waiting. Among the canned goods and dried beans. Like some kind of gremlin. Amber, this is literally insane behavior. You understand that, right? This is restraining order territory. No, listen. She was digging in her hoodie pocket now, frantic. I brought you something. To show you I'm serious about making this work. That I've changed. She pulled something out and shoved it toward me. I looked at it. It was a keychain. A gas station keychain. One of those cheap ones they keep by the register next to the beef jerky and lighters. This one had a cartoon gecko wearing sunglasses and the words "hang in there" in sparkly purple letters. We both stared at it. It reminded me of you, she said weakly. A gecko and sunglasses reminded you of me. You're resilient. Like a gecko. I had no words. None. This woman had broken into my apartment, hidden in my pantry for 4 hours, and her big gesture was a $2 keychain with a motivational lizard on it. Amber. Yeah? Get out of my apartment. But the gecko. Take your gecko and leave, right now. Through the door this time. And if you ever come back, I'm calling the cops. Not security, cops. She looked at the keychain. Looked at me. Something in her face finally clicked that this wasn't a romantic comedy. This was a crime. She shuffled toward the door, keychain still in hand. At the threshold, she turned back. I really have changed, Nate. Great. Change somewhere else. The door closed behind her. I took a photo of the open window and her shoe prints on my counter. Then I walked over, locked the window, and made a note to install real locks on every opening. Poured myself another glass of water. Drank it standing up. Somewhere in the parking lot, I heard her car start and pull away. I texted Jack, "You're not going to believe what just happened." His response, "Try me," I told him. His response, "A gecko?" "Hang in there," I typed back. In sparkly purple letters. Bro! Yeah, that about summed it up. Attempt 6, the mother. 2 days later, new area code, answered expecting a work call. Nate, honey, it's Amber's mom. Annoyance hit me immediately. She had always treated me like useful furniture. Once asked me to move her entire garage worth of storage boxes during Thanksgiving, then didn't even offer me a plate. Ma'am? Oh, Nate. We're all so worried about you two. Amber's just a passionate girl, you know how she is. Don't you think you've made your point? She's learned her lesson. She needs you to be the bigger person here. To step up and be the man we know you are. She paused, waiting for agreement. Got silence. Ma'am, I am being the man I am. And that man doesn't stay with people who announce they'd rather die than marry him. Have a nice evening. Didn't wait for her sputtering response. Hung up. Attempt 7. The mask falls. It came that same night. A final text from the crisis number. The desperate need burned away. Just bitterness underneath. The real her. Finally out in the open. Fine. You're just a coward who couldn't handle a strong woman speaking her truth. You were always boring and small. I'm better off. You did me a favor by leaving. Have fun dying alone. I read it. And for the first time since that night at the bar, I felt something about Amber. I thought it was funny. Laughed out loud in my quiet apartment. The irony was almost too perfect. Saved the screenshot. Perfect documentation. Proof that the fate worse than death she'd been so scared of had actually been the key to a life that was finally mine. But the attempts weren't finished. 5 months after I walked out of the Gilded Fox, Amber showed up at the airport again. I was in the maintenance bay, head down in a particularly stubborn fuel pump assembly, when my supervisor appeared. She's back. At reception. Security's already involved. I straightened up, wiped my hands. Not surprised, not angry, just tired of the same thing happening over and over. Tell them I'll be there in 5. When I arrived, the receptionist was behind the desk looking stressed. 2 airport security officers flanked Amber, who was mid-meltdown, her voice echoing in the lobby. I just need to talk to him. 5 minutes. Is that so unreasonable? He won't answer my calls. He won't. She saw me. Her face crumpled into relief. Nate, finally. Tell them it's okay. Tell them you'll talk to me. I looked at the security officers. Older guy with gray hair, younger woman with a clipboard, both watching me carefully. This is the ex-girlfriend I mentioned when I filed the incident report last month, I said. Voice level. Professional. She's been told not to come here. This is her 3rd attempt. Amber's face went white. 3rd? I've only been here twice, and you... She showed up November 12th, I said to the officers. Made a scene at reception, was asked to leave. She returned December 3rd and waited in the parking lot for 2 hours. The receptionist documented both incidents. This is number 3. The younger officer made notes. Amber was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. You documented it? You actually... What is wrong with you? I ignored her. Kept my eyes on the officers. I'm requesting she be formally trespassed from airport property. I don't want further contact, and I don't want her disrupting my workplace again. Nate, you can't be serious, Amber said, her voice going higher. I'm not some criminal. I just wanted to talk. The older officer stepped forward. His voice was firm, but not unkind. Ma'am, if the complainant requests you be trespassed, we're required to comply. You'll need to leave immediately. If you return to airport property, you'll be arrested for criminal trespass. Arrested? Her voice cracked. She looked at me. Really looked. You're going to have me arrested? For wanting to talk to my boyfriend? Ex-boyfriend, I said quietly. And yes, the axe shattered completely. Not into tears, into rage. You know what? Fine, fine. You're exactly as boring and pathetic as I said you were. I dodged a bullet. You did me a favor. The officers exchanged glances. They'd seen this kind of thing before, too. Ma'am, you need to come with us, the younger one said. They escorted her toward the exit. Her voice bounced off the walls as she went. You're nothing, Nate. Nothing. You'll die alone in your sad little life. The doors closed behind them. The lobby went quiet. The receptionist let out a long breath. That was intense. I nodded. Thanks for documenting everything. Of course. You want me to email you copies of the incident reports? Please. She hesitated. Can I say something? Off the record? Go ahead. My sister dated a guy like that for 3 years. He kept going back, kept thinking she'd change, lost his house, his savings, most of his friends. She shook her head. What you're doing? Walking away clean and not looking back? That's the hardest thing. Most guys can't do it. I didn't know what to say. So I just said, tell your sister's ex I hope he figures it out. He won't. But you did. Walked back to the maintenance bay. My supervisor gave me a look as I passed. You good? Yeah, I'm good. And I was. 4 days later, a certified letter arrived at my apartment. I'd hired a different attorney. This one sent a formal cease and desist on my behalf, paid for with money I'd saved from not funding someone else's life for 5 months. The letter was simple. No contact. No third parties. No attempts to reach me through work, family, or friends. Violation would result in a restraining order and potential harassment charges. I signed for it, added it to the folder that contained workplace incident reports, the trespass documentation, her threatening texts, her mother's voicemails, the original demand letter and my response, copies of all financial records showing my contributions to the relationship. 2 years of life with Amber, reduced to a manila folder an inch thick. Complete documentation of exactly who she was when the act ended. The next morning, I got one final text. Different number. Probably a burner or a friend's phone. No words this time. Just a photo. It was her, standing outside what looked like her mother's house. Face blotchy, hair pulled back, wearing sweats and an old hoodie, holding a piece of paper. The paper had one sentence written in marker. I'm sorry. I looked at it for 30 seconds. Then I blocked the number, deleted the photo, added a note to the digital file. Final contact attempt via unknown number. Blocked. No response given. Close the file. Close the laptop. That's when I knew she wasn't done. But I was. Not because she'd stopped trying, because I'd stopped feeling anything at all when she did. 8 months after I walked out of the Gilded Fox, I signed the closing papers on a 1948 Craftsman bungalow on a quiet tree-lined street. 3 bedrooms. Detached 2-car garage bigger than my old apartment. Workshop space in back. Front porch with room for a chair and my thoughts. The place needed work. Kitchen was stuck in another decade. Floors groaned with 70 years of history. But the bones were solid. And it was, by every definition, the beginning of a nice little life. The irony wasn't lost on me. It just didn't bother me either. Career was going great. Lead mechanic role came with a raise. Mentoring 2 junior techs. More planes, more complex work, more satisfaction. Jack came over regularly to work on projects. The motorcycle club became a regular thing again. Long rides through mountain passes. People who showed up to ride, not to perform. I'd started seeing someone. Kayla. Met her at an aviation museum fundraiser. She worked in aircraft restoration, specializing in World War II birds. Our first conversation lasted 2 hours and was entirely about sourcing authentic replacement parts for vintage engines. Third date, she spotted a hairline crack in an intake boot on my CB550 project that I'd missed. No drama, no performances, just 2 people who actually liked each other. Saturday morning. Replacing the kitchen faucet. Radio playing. Coffee cooling on the counter. My phone buzzed. Text from Kayla about a P51 stabilizer she wanted me to see. I smiled. A real smile. The kind that came easy when you weren't putting on an act for someone who didn't appreciate it. Pocketed the phone. Sat on my back porch. Watched a hawk circle above my property. Somewhere across town, Amber was probably still figuring out her next move. And I was sitting on my porch, in my house, planning my evening with someone who actually appreciated who I was. The boring little life she'd rather die than live? Turns out it was pretty great. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.